Howdy y'all, it's your favorite chairman with the belt buckle. Today we're going to take you through a needs analysis and show you the practical aspect of helping a soccer player. We got Meagan, she's an instructor here at San Diego location, so if you want to become a strength coach, we got you covered. You can pass the CSCS within 2 months with Brock Little and I, but the more applied stuff that we're going to be teaching you today. So she played D1 soccer, Pepperdine, not as good as Gonzaga, but that's all right. And then she also was part of the world team.
Dominican team, yeah.
Dominican team. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to go through the NSCA's ramp warm-up, give you some stuff that she used to do part of practices, and then we're going to go over exercises that are really great for soccer players and how you can implement them. And then we have other calls, part of our advanced programming classes, where we break down the programming day 1, 2, 3, 4, and the difference between a strength and power day, hypertrophy day, in-season, off-season, and conditioning, strength and conditioning. So when we take a look at the needs analysis, the 4 things we want to address: the muscles that are used, the muscle actions, common injuries, and the bioenergetics. Common injuries, what are they?
ACL.
Blew both out. When was your first one?
6 years ago.
6 years, and then?
7 months ago.
7 months ago. So she's in that rehab process now. Always work with the therapist. We have some of the best therapists in the game that's part of our team. And so it's great to see what they're doing, but we don't really implement much of that part of the programming because that's what they're doing with the therapist. We will show you some prehab exercises that are great to incorporate with soccer players. Girls are as much as 2 to as high as 8 times more likely to blow out your ACL. Remember, we have your anterior cruciate ligament, posterior cruciate ligament. Cruciate means cross in Latin, and then we have the lateral and medial. You can get a fun injury, it's called the unhappy triad, where you blow out your ACL, LCL, as well as your menisci, medial or lateral. Not very fun. Very common is when we land unstable, or maybe we don't have the strength, and then voila, and then you hear that infamous pop. That's why I asked her, she came in, she was hobbling. I think I'm all right. I said, did you hear a pop? She's like, yeah. I said, when you plant your foot and you want to twist, how does that feel? Very sketchy. It just doesn't feel stable. Not a good sign. So the muscles that are going to be used, a lot of extension on the posterior side. Hamstrings are really important, but unilateral. What would you say is a very common move that you make in soccer? Cutting. Stopping here, going this way. So when we design the workouts, the exercises I feel would be better would be, you look at a squats, bilateral. It's not very specific to soccer. I want to see a lot of probably reverse lunges. You can load up with the barbell. You can do, we'll show you a variation, contralateral ones, side step-ups. What were some exercises that your coaches had you do a lot of?
We did Bulgarians, step-ups. We did trap bar before too as well. Hang cleans, stuff like that.
Good. So hang cleans, power. We'll take you through power exercises, plyometrics, and then the strength exercises, and then isolating prehab ones. So what muscles are being used in the actions? A lot of triple extension, running. And it's going to be lower body specific, but upper body will be important as well. Common injuries, ACL, ankle problems. And then the last one would be the bioenergetics. So the bioenergetics, what are the demands of the sport? It's more anaerobic. So how long is a soccer field?
120.
So if you did a full-blown sprint and you're hauling ass, maybe 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, that's going to be primarily ATP would be the first 0 to 10, but then the phosphagen system, remember we break down ATP, combines organically with creatine phosphate, and that's why they call it the phosphagen system, because creatine will bind with ADP, allow for more work to be done. A lot of 0 to 30 second work, fast glycolysis would be 30 seconds to maybe 90, slow glycolysis, 90 to 2 minutes, and then 2+ would be oxidative. There is a huge aerobic component, but soccer isn't all just this. It's going to be, depending on which position you're in, it is going to be aerobic, but then quickly into ATP, PC. So we will have a call later on and a breakdown of the conditioning aspect, but we're going to go over the ramp warm-up for NSCA, which is raise your heart rate, activate, mobilize, and potentiate. So starting with, take us through some normal things you would do part of practice when you would warm up.
And warm up. We'd always jog, and then after all the jogs and stuff, we'd get down here, lunge, open up, rotate.
thoracic mobility, hip stretch, you're getting your flexors.
We do a lot of open up, closing, shuffling, side to side, stuff like that.
I like the planes of motion. We're getting all of them. We're getting transverse with the rotation. Start out with sagittal, going for a run. We're not running for a mile, maybe a lap, maybe 2. So it's just, maybe 3-5 minutes, nothing crazy. And then you're going to go into activating. So what are the main muscles we're using? The rotation, that's like a mobilizing drill. You don't have to always go in that order. We're actually going to go through right now some of the mobilizing drills I like to do. So we'll start off in the 90-90. So you could go for a run, have all your athletes get into this 90-90 position, and then I'm going to internally rotate without any, so we'll call this a active mobilization drill because she's doing it, and then come down. A passive now would be she would take her ankle, and let's see how high we can get into it, and then hold eccentrically, and then come down. That's really good that she was able to get neurologically into a higher position and control it eccentrically. That dead space is where we typically get hurt. So if she were to take her hand out and it just drops to the ground, that's not a good sign. That means we have a lot of vulnerability internally and slowing down the eccentric control. So we're just going to do a few of those reps, 3 to 5, and then open up. She's going to pull her leg out there externally. There you go. And you can just even do that drill back and forth if you wanted to. And then you do the same thing with this leg. So we're in internal rotation with her right leg. And then you can even come out into external rotation, keep this leg down, and go externally on that one. There you go. And then you come back in internally. So that's a good little mobilization drill to do. Another one I really like to do is with the foam roller. And these are great because you can do them in sequence with all your athletes. How many girls do you have on a team?
Overall,
yeah.
we do like 20.
20. So you could have groups of 5, and you can do, everyone runs together as a group. Everyone does the 90-90. You can pair up the girls 2 to a group, and then you do these mobilization drills. So I want you to flex with your knee straight, extended. You should be able to get to 90 degrees. And then you're going to rotate out while you start to get internal rotation. But you really want to focus on driving into that hip socket with flexion. Drive with abduction. She could bend her knee back if she likes as she starts getting into, so you can go here, bend. And then you can really continue to drive through the hip into abduction. Notice that little space that we just got. I want to maintain that end position at all times. You can come back through and then finish it off. Full extension, slow and controlled. You can piggyback this with like an airplane exercise, which we'll do next. So let's go and start here. So do those little warm-up mobilization ones. Just do the airplane facing. You can face the camera, that's fine. So the sartorius, the TFL, the gracilis, biarticulate muscles that stabilize the hip and the knee. When you flex the knee, you're taking away their optimization at both joints. So what we're doing here is we're training all 4 of them, 3, and then we have a main emphasis on the glute med. This is a really great exercise to strengthen the hip and to protect the knee. A progression from this would be lifting up her back foot. It makes it significantly harder. Watch her eyes. She has a fixed stare. It's the cognitive phase of learning. I love that because that means she's really adapting to her environment. The more that she does this, when she can look at me and track me, then I might grab a ball and throw it to her. I could throw her a soccer ball. Maybe she has to knee it back to me. Those would be progressions that you could do. Maybe 30 seconds per side, you would switch. Another one I like to do is your planking clams. One of my good buddies and therapists who we work with closely, Dr. Waterbury, this is one of his tests to see how the ACL is doing. Starting out with the smaller latex bands, holding for a minute. And this is a very safe exercise to do post-surgery because we're not compromising the integrity of the knee or the ACL. This is a hip strength. Try to get to maybe start out with I think it's like the lightest band is maybe blue or yellow, and then you go to the progression. When you get to these ones, we have some of these at Show Up Fitness that you can get. And where do you feel this, Meagan? Everywhere. And you're also getting lateral core, which is really great. So you can do this on both sides. Good? Now the cool thing about these exercises I'm showing you right now is they are specific to hip musculature. So you could put these into a B part of your programming. So maybe you do a power clean first for a set of 6 at 75%, and then you go to a landmine press, which would be good upper body, and then you could go to this clam exercise. Or if you wanted to do one of those mobilization drills, you could also do that part of the program. Do that for a round of 3 to 5, depending on how many sets. When we do power, make sure we're resting a minimum of 3 minutes. Strength on the rep range as well. And so if we're trying to put on size or muscle, that would be different for hypertrophy. And so then what I want to do is, I'll have you come back here, facing me, a drill that I like to do with the plyometric aspect. So we're going through with the program, we want to do plyos first. What exercises you do Olympic-wise? You said you do like power cleans?
Hang cleans. Yeah.
Hang cleans, power cleans. Those are great to do. Brock has a couple videos on how to properly teach those and coach those. We're not going to go over those today. We're going to skip those and go into lateral plyo drills, which are really great because of the importance of being able to do this. And how can you add value as the coach? I want you to get involved and tell the athlete which way to go. So she's going to be doing some lateral plyos here. Now, the definition of plyo means metric. How high can you move? And so I don't want this. I want maximal explosion and then holding and then coming down off of my voice. So right, left, good, right, left. Now we can also go hands. So look at me. Now we're visual. Right. Oh, so I told her to go right, but I wanted her to go left. Good drill, 8 to 10 max. We rest, and then you would go back through that circuit. Another drill that I really like to do is with some type of contact. So I'll move this over here. You can have athletes do it as the progression. This would be the first exercise to do. Obviously, Meagan's been doing this for a while. You'd start with the most regressed, which would just be a jump up, broad jump. Don't you be jumping like Tinkerbell. We don't do this. No athlete has ever done this in the history of womankind. It's always load back and then come up. So if you had two athletes, the most progressed way would be you could actually bump into one another. We're going to use the wall here. So let's go and do a max vertical jump, lateral emphasis, get contact with the wall, don't knock my wall over, and then you come and you stabilize on that right foot. Good. That's all right. Again. There you go, a lot better. Good. Good. So that's again a good one to do for maybe 5 to 8 reps, and then you switch. Your sister also played professionally, right?
Yeah.
And is that how she blew out her knee?
Yeah, coming down from a jump.
Jumping up there, whether if you're headbutting, I never played soccer. I was more hands, however you do that. Your header, whatever, and then didn't have that strength and stabilization of the hip. The hip is going to protect the knee. I don't freak out about knee valgus. If you have a little bit of knee valgus, it's not the end of the world. It's when it's extreme and dynamically when I'm moving, if I can't control it, that's the mechanism for a blowout. So we have the plyos. We want to be resting 3 to 5 minutes. Then we're going to get into some of the strength exercises that I really like to do. So let's just show everyone a contralateral kettlebell reverse lunge. There you go. Yep. So I really like that exercise because you're going to get this anterior oblique sling, what they like to call it. You're getting a lot of recruitment from the glutes. You can go forward with soccer as well. So if you wanted to make it a walking one, forward, and then come back, that would be fine to do. Very sports specific. Typically with general pop, I don't like walking lunges. It's very cliche in the Instagram world. It's kind of dumb. So for athletes, she's going to be doing this. So that would be a decent exercise to do. 8 to 12 reps, and then do an upper body exercise that would be specific next. Now you can, again, we're just giving you examples of what she's used in sport with her coaches, working with top strength coaches, but also what we would just to add on there to complement. So I mean, you can back squat, you can do trap bar deadlifts, they're fine, but I would like to see some unilateral stuff. Doing the step-ups are great, and you can do that one as well. You can go bilateral, but the limiting factor is going to be your grip strength. So maybe you do a step-up with the bar, so you can really overload the bar, but we still want to be, 75, 85% and getting good work in, probably not going to volitional fatigue, where if you want to develop, athletes don't want to develop their glutes. You don't have an athlete like, I really want to focus on my glutes. No, they want to perform better. So you have to be able to distinguish between you're working with gen pop, very superficial aesthetic, and athlete's performance. Power, we got a couple strength exercises in there. Hip hinges would be great. You're going to have like an RDL variation, and I also like to do kettlebell swings. Those are great to incorporate. Upper body stuff we're not going to go too much over. We're going to take a look at a few isolating ones. Let's check out some Nordics. Again, you can pair the girls together. This would be as a B outside of the first circuit. I want this more at the end. You can have each other hold down their ankles. When I work with hamstring strength, because typically hamstrings are weaker and the ratio from quad strength to hip strength is out of balance, so that's why they're a little more vulnerable. I always teach people how to fail. So how do you fail when you do a Nordic? If something feels off, like it's going to snap or pop, your client will freak out and they'll continue to go through it. I don't want that. So if you're coming down, I want your body, your torso to be nice and erect. If you feel something off, just stick your butt back. Absolutely 100% nothing can happen. By telling my client that, it helps with their brain and their guard. So if something feels off, you can just push your butt back or put your arms down. Try to maintain as much as you can. If you have some badass athletes, I've never seen it in person, no offense, but if you can come up concentrically, that's insane. That is strength right there. Let's see how we do, Meagan. It's a lot of, remember when we do eccentric, we're stronger. Eccentric's also great because it's awesome for connective tissue health, so your tendons and ligaments. We don't like to do typically more than like 5 to 6 because it just creates a ton of damage. I'm not doing this with beginners. Meagan's very strong. I wouldn't do this with someone right out of surgery. You always got to communicate with the PT, get the contraindications exercise we shouldn't be doing. Good. Another one I love to do, which would be like an accessory. So maybe you do these on Monday, and then on Wednesday, you're doing the clam variations as a B, and then maybe on Friday, part of the strength program, we do some, let's do these with, yeah. Mm-hmm. So these are great to stabilize the right leg. And then what she's doing is abducting into the wall. So we're getting stabilization here on the right. We're driving the knee into the wall. So we're getting a concentric / isometric contraction of the glute med, glute max upper fibers on that working leg. And then over here it's stabilizing. So it's a great exercise. And if you want to get involved as a coach, you can just give a little bit of resistance here. A little perturbation. You tap her down, push, 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 push. I'm going to let go. See how she responds to reactiveness. So push down hard, 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 and pushing in, boom. The purpose of this isn't to hurt people. I'm not trying to make this a circus act. I'm trying to make this as specific to sport, specific adaptation to impose demand. So I'm mimicking what is happening in the sport, but we need to know where it goes in the programming. I'm not going to do a ton of fatiguing drills. What do you call your soccer drills? Basketball, we call it suicides.
Oh, there's so many just drills, I guess.
Drills, whatever. I'm not going to start out and then do your power cleans and your explosive stuff. Typically, we'll have a weight training session, and at the end, if you want to do some anaerobic conditioning, maybe we'll do some ski erg stuff into some pull-ups, into some push-ups. You create a little circuit at the end of the workout, that would be fine. But this is an example of a needs analysis for a soccer player who's trying to develop their strength. We look at the power, explosive stuff first, get into the strength, and then the isolating / prehab stuff that you can incorporate as a B or even a C. If you have any questions, you want to become a great strength coach or a trainer, your favorite trainer with a belt buckle, your girl Meagan over here, she can get anyone to pass your basic CPT. We have hands-on learning, San Diego, West Hollywood. We're now in Austin. We have weekend seminars. We will help you become great. Keep on showing up.